Good evening, everyone. Once again, welcome to the gray area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. I'm Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always,
This is Sparta!
the Ghost of Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a. Panayotis. Yasu, my brother, what is going on?
What is going on, my man? How are you tonight?
I am doing well. Hope everyone had a good Mother's Day. How's Mrs. Laritza's doing?
Mom's good actually. She had a good day. She just relaxed, argued with the dog like always, but that's it, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were playing tug of war with a blanket at one point. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, I gotta break this fight up before it becomes bloody here.
I got you. Yeah, but, certainly, the daughters and I, certainly took the missus out to a nice steakhouse and, had a good bunch there. So yeah, I think she appreciated it, and we were good times, kind of had by all. But it's just interesting though. It's like I was telling Anton, shout out to our guy Anton, who I had the privilege of meeting for the first time yesterday. Both of us live in New Jersey. And so we were able to meet and fellowship with one another. Good dude. And, certainly it's always cool that for a lot of us, we met in this space, in this YouTube space. And so when you get the opportunity to actually meet people in person and get to know them as people and just have real conversations and whatnot, that just makes it all the more better. So we're already planning our next one. I think we're going to try to get our pain, maybe get Peter out and whatnot, and just have the meeting of the certainly of the crew, and to continue just to build content and whatnot. But I really think that it just adds a dimension to the show when you can know people personally and not just through through social media or texting or emails or what have you. So it was a really good time, certainly had by all, and definitely looking for more content in the future. But good to have you guys here certainly tonight. Make sure when you come in, make sure you hit the like button. Certainly as you come in tonight, really certainly it helps the algorithm on the show, and certainly if you want to support the channel, again, I was always streaming at the bottom. Yeah, Black Men Unfiltered. Certainly, you can drop a Cash App or the Super Chat, the Black Men Unfiltered, and then certainly anything that you want to give to us personally, you'll see here. Certainly our Cash Apps scrolling at the bottom of the screen. But we want to kind of have this conversation again. It will be a conversation again. We're not economists, all right? I'm no Feynman or any of these guys. I'm not a Thomas Sowell. I'm not any of these guys. But I wanted to talk about this. I mean, we've been the last few shows that we we talked about a lot of economics. So we started this off around tax season. So we talked about 501c3 organizations and how these organizations can acquire billions of dollars and pay no taxes. Certainly these institutions are set up to go around tax free. We even touched the sacred cow, so to speak, of should churches pay taxes, as an institution. And then we talked about, just tax systems in general. Is the progressive tax system that we currently have, is that the best way forward for us? Or maybe we should consider maybe a flat tax, so that is oftentimes cited by libertarians as a different way of doing things, or even a regressive tax where you actually get taxed more the less you make. You get taxed more so as an incentive to get people to even make more money, so in other words, earn more so you pay less taxes, which is kind of like the system that we have now, given all of the tax havens and the shelters and ways you can sort of hide your money and keep your money from paying taxes on. So we kind of already have that, I think, to an extent where, a lot of wealthy people aren't, and again, that's a debate also whether or not are wealthy people in fact paying their fair share of taxes. But I think we're going to kind of bring this whole kind of money economic conversation to a halt tonight. So again, the idea is, could we, and again, for some of you guys, I know your heads are going to explode when you hear the question, but again, can you live without money? Is it something that we can really, if you just decide to make a move to kind of live off the grid, could you do it? Because a lot of people are starting to choose that option. Again, some of the examples that I've seen so far, some of them are like, you talk about really living off the grid. Like, it's not necessarily, in my view, the most productive way of doing things. But certainly, for some of these people, they might have started out maybe to, okay, I won't spend money for a month, and then somehow they were able to stretch it out to 2 months and 3 months and whatnot, and kept it going. So we're gonna have that conversation tonight. That can you live without money? And as you see from our from the title slide of the show, we're kind of borrowing from the Dark Knight, which is certainly my second favorite Batman movie. I must say. I mean, nothing will ever replace the Batman 1989. That's still my favorite Batman movie. But the Dark Knight is definitely my number two when it comes. Well, what's yours?
It's Dark Knight. I think Dark Knight killed it.
Yeah, no, it is no question. I mean, Dark Knight was an incredible film. And I know Eric for some reason doesn't like it. Shout out to my guy Eric. He's not a fan of the of Dark Knight.
Anything modern, Eric hates. Let's be honest here. If you bring anything modern into like anything in this 20th century or 21st century or right now, he hates with a passion. I have gotten multiple disagreements with the guy about it, and I told him, dude, you gotta get with the times, bro. I know you like, the different eras of when it was back was different, it's special, and I understand that. But anything new, pop culture wise, he hates it with a passion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess he appreciates some of the original content. Shout out to Batman Unfiltered. Yeah, Dark Knight is one of the best, man. Yeah, it was incredible. Like, I came out of that movie like kind of awed, like shocked, like, like, what did I just watch? It was so jarring. And yes, we definitely appreciate the thumbnail. Thanks for putting that out there. But again, there's a scene in the film where he basically burns down a pile of money, and it's like, like for a lot of the criminal elements of the time, money's always been a motivator. But it seems like with him, I think even Alfred said the line, like, some people just want to see the world burn. Like, he kind of lived to see chaos, but he wasn't even though he would use money, but it's not what motivated him. So he would just take a match to a big giant pile of money and burn it up, and but that's not what motivated him. And we see that too. How much of what we do, the actions that we do, are motivated by the acquisition of money for money's sake, and not for something either honorable or nefarious. Like in his case, obviously, he had to get people to go along when he had to acquire certain things in order to do what he did. But certainly, but that wasn't a thing that he would, didn't matter what it was. It was literally paper. So what were your thoughts for that scene?
Before we get into the Dark Knight series, was the most accurate theater movie that made as Batman 2.8, because Batman is very dark, very broody, but we see Batman more like this little two shoes on the cartoons, and that's why people go to the 85 version more, because that's what it was. But the Dark Knight originally, the first issue of Batman, he had a gun. People forget that he was using a gun, and people forget how brutal Batman was. He didn't take mercy. He didn't take prisoners. He was taking heads. So with that scene, Joker was a messed up head person, completely. And him burning his stack of money can tell you how screwed up in the head he was. But in a point, he was right. You could live without money. I don't believe money makes happiness. It makes you more comfortable in life. So you cannot depend on the money to make you happy. Listen, Paul, me and you have made money in the past before we met.
Sure.
Sometimes, you probably made more, I made less, I made more, whatever. I don't give a shit. But I realized over the years, as older I am and grayer, and before Greg makes a comment, fuck off. So getting wiser made me understand you can work all these hours. I do it. I still do it because that's what my title requires me to do. If I had a choice, I wouldn't do that anymore at this age, because it takes time away from my loved ones, the people who matter more to me. I can make money anytime. Like, remember Comic-Con? Do you remember how much I blew on Comic-Con on you guys last year?
Yeah, in cash, by the way. It was like, he comes out, first of all, it's like, I was like, I'm acting as his bodyguard because this guy's, bringing 4 bills, in cash to these events or whatnot.
Did I
And,
sweat it one bit? Did I was like, shit, I shouldn't be spending this. I should be
nah,
spending.
nah, money doesn't, money doesn't sway in the way a lot of times people do, or people again brag about, the sort of money they make or whatnot as well. But it's just not a fact. It's like, I think with you, I think you value relationship.
Yeah.
And certainly money is certainly something that can certainly help or, to have better experiences in relationship. But at the same time, you can't replace the relationship itself. Like if we didn't get along, it wouldn't matter how much money that you had,
Correct.
we wouldn't be able to really do, enjoy that time. So I think it is a multiplier of whatever the quality or state of a relationship is, or it will reveal what that relationship is, but it certainly can't replace what that relationship is. So,
And another note, if we didn't get along, obviously these spaces wouldn't be exist. The gray area wouldn't be this. The person hang out on my channel wouldn't exist. Spartan Student Network wouldn't exist. None of this would exist because we built a relationship, a very strong relationship, I believe, at this point. And to the point I consider one of my close friends. And a good example, when Alex passed, you were the first one I called, if you remember correctly.
yeah.
That's how close our relationship is. So that money didn't mean shit to me, to be honest with you. Didn't give a fuck. Because I can go to a work for a couple of days and make it up and not double but triple that very easily. Because I can get some side gigs or whatever. Money never stresses me out. As long as the bills are paid and everybody's happy and healthy, those are 3 key words I like.
Yeah.
Just
for
can't
sure.
go kick rocks, in my opinion.
Definitely.
And speaking of the devil, Eric's in the house, by the way.
Yep. Shout out to my guy again in the building. Certainly as always. Appreciate your support tonight. But yeah, but
And
it's
I'm gonna roast him. Dark Knight. It is a better movie than they.
you're gonna get him started. But he does thank you for the hospitality that he showed last year, certainly at Comic-Con. So certainly wanted to acknowledge that. But yeah, but some of this, but some of this stuff. Yeah, shout out to again. I'm gonna butcher this name here, but it's a long name. 4840. Money talks. Mine keeps saying bye. Yeah, for a lot of people it's so. But it's interesting. I go all the way back. It's interesting. I'm kind of an 80s guy. Obviously, I grew up in the 80s, and it's interesting that one of my favorite rap groups is Run DMC. And so, it's funny. They came out with a song, a rap back in the day about it's like that, and that's the way it is. And it's just some of the lyrics from it. It just rung true. I was thinking about the topic tonight. Again, money is the key to end all your woes, your ups, your downs, your highs, and your lows. Won't you tell me last time that love brought you clothes? It's like that, and that's the way it is. And so, this idea that we've always been certainly in America. Now, again, other countries, where the standard of living is different. Maybe people may not be as capitalistic or in pursuit of it. I know when my wife and I went to Jamaica 4 years ago, the one thing I noticed when we were there was that people didn't have, again, a fraction of what we have across the board. Like, a guy who was driving us around, he said the average Jamaican makes $30 a day. That's it. And when you look at some of the houses, like when we were going to some of the excursions or whatnot, getting out to the countryside, like a lot of the houses are like literally built with like tin foil and some cinder blocks and things like that. Some of the houses didn't have roofs on them. But it's the thing that really kind of got me, though, is like when you talk to some of the people, like, because we didn't stay in the resort all the time. When we got and talked around people, it's like even though they didn't have money, you wouldn't know it from talking to them. There was still like a contentment or a happiness in life. Whereas conversely, when you're in the resort, there's a lot of people who are there, and it's like you're not happy. It's like you're basically in Disneyland over here. You got access to all the food that you want. You got the bars with the drinking and all this kind of thing, and people that were there that were miserable. And so it certainly it leaves an impact on you in terms of, why is it that some people who seem to have everything, but there's no contentment with what they have, and you have people who have very little, but they get up every day just appreciative of life and being able to, just to experience life every day. The guy was also telling us, like, he was driving us around. You can't starve in Jamaica in a lot of places, right? Because there's food that grows wild. There's wild bananas and berries and all kinds of foods that are there that if you're ever hungry, you just go to literally just go to a tree off the road. The guy was saying, no, there's banana trees, there's all kinds of fruit trees, papaya trees and whatnot. So you can live off the grid. And again, will the quality of life, at least the way we define it, will it be what ours is? No. But the idea that we're in fact, I'm gonna quote one of the articles I'm gonna pull up in a minute. Is like we're probably the only species of animal on Earth that basically where we need money to get food, right? Every other animal on Earth can get their food from wherever, but we're the only ones who have to attach. At least the thinking for a lot of people is that we have to attach money in order to get food, and that's just something that struck me. Also, is just the mindset here, certainly in the developed nations versus those that maybe where they don't have as much, but at the same time, their quality of life in terms of their mindset is something to envy.
It's funny
in a
you
lot
said this,
yeah.
because I'm gonna go back to my roots in Greece for a minute here. Even to this day, I still have friends in Greece. You know that. I still have family in Greece. I talk to them like, "Oh, I'm at the coffee shop. Will you just complain about bills? Yeah, fuck, what are they gonna do? Go to collections? I'll pay when I have time." They prefer getting a beer or a coffee, their cigarettes, and going to the coffee shop, hanging out, or to the local bar, or hanging out at a pool hall and having fun, than worrying about their bills. That is a priority. Having good food on the table, that's a priority. Yeah, having a roof and all that stuff is a priority, but it's not like if the credit cards companies are calling you. What can they do? They can take my house away. And they have a good point. And that's why a lot of them are less stressful. And that's why I think our lifespan as Americans is so short, because we're always stressed out about bills. When the last time you were not stressed out about bills, Paul?
The last time? Yeah. But I mean, it's gotten better. But I think one of the things that we've committed ourselves to, certainly over the last 5 years, is to pay debts off. I mean, that's just been like a mission. Like, forget, vacations. Will, if we have the opportunity to do so, but we put ourselves on a path to pay down a lot of the bills. And that was just something that was, that became more of a priority to us over the acquisition of things, because we have most of, kind of what we need. Like, yeah, I may buy, I'm a Marshallholic. I love going to Marshalls and TJ Maxx stores and whatnot. If I can find something on the cheap or whatever, I'll get it. But again, I'm not trying to buy or spend exorbitant money. Like, I would never pay $200 on a pair of sneakers ever. Like, that's just not something that motivates me to do things. But again, for a lot of people, again, the idea of consumerism is so big with people. They think they have to have the acquisition of things. And like, for the longest time, I remember in my early 20s, like, I didn't have necessarily the nicest cars. Like, I would always have like secondhand, kind of used cars or whatnot. But again, it got me to where I wanted to go. I had remember that movie Wayne's World?
Yeah.
I had that car. Or at least my dad had that car. It was a 1975 AMC Pacer when I was in college. And I would get laughed at and railroaded, or people would say, "Hey, that's the Wayne's World car." Not on the roads. But I didn't care. Like, I was, from the background that I came from, not having much to begin with, for me, it was about just trying to get somewhere, or just to improve my situation. Yeah, I'm doing these things now, but hopefully it won't be the way of the future as well. So really, there's been times in my life where, yeah, even though I didn't have much, in a lot of ways I was happier, in part because I was in the process of accomplishing something, versus just, I need to get this and I want this and I want this. Guys would talk about, what they would get when they first got their jobs out of college and what they wanted and how they had to have their sound system and they had to have just all these material possessions. And I was never about those things. I was just looking to, kind of get to level, because like I said, the background that I came from didn't provide me a good floor to start with. And so, for me, it was just about the grind and the process, more so than the material thing. Because that's another thing about that. As soon as you take something off the lot, like you buy a car off the lot, it depreciates like right away. It's like, it drops like 30%, like within that first, just like, as soon as you buy it. So, the trinkets a lot of times that we get, we have to ask ourselves, like, is it really worth it? But to entertain the question of, again, do we really need money? I mean, can we live without money? Now, Run DMC said, that's the key. Again, love won't buy you clothes or whatnot. You have to have these things, but at least, having the conversation, can we think about ways where maybe we can make our lives a little bit easier, stop stressing over things that, that oftentimes besets us, and can we just think differently? So, but let me share my screen, and I just want to kind of go through just a few of these here. And again, I'm going to drop the links in the chat. You can certainly look at this on your own. And again, what I'm not advocating here is people just kind of, get an RV or used RV and just live off the land per se. But it does offer some things that again, worth considering. So again, the article here, or the blog, I'll put the blog link in the chat. You guys can again look at this certainly in your own time. This idea, from Chris Skinner. Again, can you live without without money? And just a couple excerpts that I saw from the article. So it talks about, again, living without money runs counter to most of our cultural understandings of success and happiness. However, it is a choice that more people are leaning towards, in addition to a decrease in stress over financial concerns. Living without money offers many possible benefits, such as reducing environmental impact, increasing your understanding and appreciation for what you have, and helping you to live a more purposeful life. Even if you decide that you cannot live without money, there are certain techniques that will help you reduce the wastefulness of your life. And even then, that was something I noticed just recently. Like I said, my wife and I, for our anniversary, went to Puerto Rico, and we saw like a big contrast between like the traditional Puerto Rican sort of landscape and what's being built there. Like I said, T-Mobile, right outside our hotel. Like if you just walk out our hotel, it's right there. They built this huge multi-million-dollar entertainment complex, and it had everything. It had all these restaurants. It had laser light shows. It had a 3,000 seat movie theater. They had zip lining. It was almost like if you ever went to Vegas and Fremont Street in Las Vegas, and they got the zip lines and things. It was basically this big amusement park, and they're building up. And it's obviously it's eye catch. It's going to catch your eye, and obviously it's driving a lot of money into the island. It's giving jobs because people are, have jobs. They got to build stuff. They're building more hotels. But then you're asking yourself also, when you look at it too, it's like this is just gaudy capitalism right here. Like, is the character of the island or the culture of the Puerto Rican people kind of being compromised by this big investment in capital money into making these giant, big American laser shows and entertainment shows? They had arcades where, we've all played coin-up video games, but imagine going and playing a coin-up video game with an 8-foot screen. It had that kind of excitement to it. And like I said, it on the outset is catchy. It catches your eye, and you're like, wow, this is cool. But then it's like you just help feeling that there's something. It almost feels like a Faustian deal. It's like, are you losing something? Are you losing the beauty of the island, replacing the natural landscape with flashing lights and bling and whatnot? Is this really what is what success is supposed to look like. And then people obviously go there. Everything's relatively expensive. Whereas I'd rather go to, I mean, one of the things that we did, one of the days we went to the rainforest, we stopped at a little hut of a restaurant because we wanted to get some real, like, authentic Puerto Rican food. And so, no, it's not the triple cheeseburgers or the big stuff that you get at those restaurants that are at the T-Mobile Center. But again, it's still, there's something to the simpler life that I'm learning in my older age that I'm saying to myself, it's like, look, do I need all that bling in my life? Do I need all that, to have a good time and to appreciate life, having all those extras?
The problem I have with that comment, Paul, when you see not all, so I don't want to offend anybody, but a lot of American Puerto Ricans are about the show. They're buying their expensive cars, the sneakers, all that stuff, and it makes me scratch. How the hell do you come up with this money? I see it all the time, and you probably do too. And like you might wonder, like how, but I work 10 times harder than you, and you have all this stuff. I don't get it. And you said to me in PR, it's completely the opposite, right?
Well, it's a contrast. It's like, again, you see, again, the capitalism, like the big push for development there. But then you get a chance to, again, when you get into the rural side, into the countryside and whatnot, you see, again, a simpler lifestyle. You still see, like, goats, like, on the roads. Mm-hmm. You see people living more of a farming type of lifestyle. You see them, again, just a less stressful existence. And you wonder to yourself, it's like, who's really better off? Like, what does success look like? Is it, again, the shiny object, or is it just observing what God already created? Have we lost some of that? I mean, even where I'm at now in New Brunswick here, they're building, like, the whole city is just being built up with just corporate buildings and whatnot, where you can barely see the skyline. Like, you walk in certain, like, on the main George Street, New Brunswick, and all it's everything is, like, shaded because the sun can't even really get down, like, to the main street unless you hit it at certain times of the day, because the whole skyline is just filled with these just buildings and apartments and luxury apartments at that. I mean, it's not cheap to live in these places. And it's like, where's the greenery? Where's the can you see anything that's natural in this space? But everything around you is just kind of busy and running all the time.
I kind of give credit to van lifers, because you see a lot of those van lifers popping right and left.
Yeah,
they drop all their money, all their savings. I really don't know. I'm going to throw a number, maybe 20, 30 grand into it. Mm-hmm. Do all the those modifications to it, and they live going town to town, traveling the country or the world, and they're happy. And like, shout out to Trend the Traveler. He's one of those guys I follow, and I see him. The guy is always happy. I have not seen, and he doesn't shower for weeks. I'm like, that part. I don't know about you, Paul. I got shower every night. I'm like, he can be stinky, and he travels with his dog. He has a pet, and he's always smiling. And one thing he cares about is good food. And that's it. Sometimes he experiments with recipes in the back. I'm like, it makes you wonder, like, what the hell we're doing wrong. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I consider getting an RV and just living out of that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. When I was working in the South certainly this year and even last summer, the hotel that we were at, there was like an RV park that was next to the hotel. And people would come in if you need like a long term, it's like a rest area, and people would just be there just to kind of relax and whatnot. But that's something. Let me ask those in the chat: if you get to a position in life, okay, your kids are grown and whatnot, and you're near retirement, would you pull that off? Where you get maybe not like a van, but get like a Winnebago, like something that's somewhat comfortable that you can kind of sleep in, and would you simply just live off the grid, no property? and you just drive from place to place, see the country, that sort of thing. Could you sign up for something like that as a lifestyle, maybe even for an extended period of time? And
Personally,
again, maybe
bro,
a couple years doing that, you may want to, settle down and get something or whatever. But is that something that those in the chat, could you embrace a lifestyle like that, where I'm not paying water bill, electric bill, light bills, and whatnot? I'm just not doing this just constantly paying into the system, into the grid, or being part of the grid, like the Matrix, right? You decide to take yourself out of the Matrix and simply just live off the grid. Would people consider something like that? Go ahead, Pete.
so personally, I couldn't do that. I'll be honest with you, because I thought about it. I'm like, I like my, I like myself. You know what I'm saying? As much as I hate saying material things, but I like, my comfort zone. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I don't see that. And they're not 100% off the grid because some of them use Starlink, to be connected to the internet still. But I would probably say you're like 85% off the grid. But one thing I did learn through watching those, like water supply, there are a bunch of public places you can get water for free. A lot of places you can dump your sewer for free and your garbage. They have public places you can do laundry for van lifers and take showers. So, do you really need a home at this point? I want to say probably not. If you know where to go, and there are all these apps now, like X camping or something like that. It's called. It tells you where you can camp, when you can, where street camping, stealth camping, all this stuff. I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
they really have gotten very far with this shit.
Mhm.
Like I would
Now
never.
King made it. Yeah. Now King made a comment. Now again, congrats certainly to King and Michelle, who just recently they entered into a domestic partnership. And interesting note here is that we're sort of planning this a decade from now, which means that you guys plan to be together for an extended period of time.
Hang on a
But
second.
shout out to you guys
I'm glad you're
making that
okay,
leap.
bro. I'll hit you up on Tuesday. Glad it wasn't anything serious. I know you
Yeah.
had a little scared today. Do yourself a favor. Stop trying to tackle things when you're out in public, please.
Yeah.
It doesn't work your heart really well. No cannibals either.
Yeah. In fact, he was literally just on his show
Yeah, I saw
prior to our show starting. So again, King, if you want to drop the link in the chat for the show that you just did, so people want to kind of get the skinny on what happened earlier, please go and do that. But yeah, make sure you take care of yourself. So again, so that a decade from now, that you and Michelle can in fact do those very things. But that is certainly something that again, hopefully you stay healthy.
I'm pretty sure you want to see your grandbabies one day too.
Grandbabies. Oh yeah. You got a daughter, and hopefully she decides to make that move. So yeah, definitely there's a lot of life still to be lived, and you certainly want to be around for it. But just to revisit, so people have actually written books on this idea of, again, life without money. How can you, again, live off the grid? And so here from Pluto Press, again, life without money. There was another site that was cited in the link that I sent. And again, I'll drop these links in the chat. You guys can certainly look at this up later on. So this is not necessarily what I'm talking about, but she's been able to do it. So this is an Australian woman, and she's lived, hasn't spent money in 5 years. Again, so how has she been able to do it? Again, offer services instead of cash, share and swap, don't waste anything. Again, growing your own food. Now, again, how much do we think about or talk about how bad the food supply is here? Every time. You're a chef, so everyone talks about how bad the food is, what we're eating is bad for us, what we're eating is harming us, and all these sort of things. But again, what if you started growing your own food? How many people are willing to make that that change in life? Again, live like your grandparents. Again, for most of us, and again, we didn't come from wealth, so most of our grandparents didn't certainly have a lot. And again, it's okay to ask for help. So again, she's been able to live without spending any money, certainly for the past 5 years. But again, she kind of lives like a commune. So again, I'm not saying that this is what a person has to do, but certainly some of the things that she's talking about, these are things that certainly you can at least try to employ some of what she's doing. Again, the whole idea of growing your own food, or like I said, when we were in Jamaica, the guy said, unless you want to, you can't starve on the island. If you're hungry in Jamaica, you have to go and to you have to go and go to a tree or whatever and just get what you want, like a lot of food. Or if you want fish, you can go into a river or a stream, whatever, and get what you want. Hunt for your food. I mean, again, earlier generations, you got everything. I still remember my grandfather when we lived with him in Georgia. He would go out with a shotgun every night. And you would hear the rifles go off, boom, boom. He'd come back, and there'd be the pheasant, and there'd be the squirrels or the possums or whatever they ate at that, that time. I couldn't stomach that stuff now. But these are things that certainly my grandparents did. You wanted dinner, you went and hunted for it, and you brought it back, and you prepped it and prepared it. What now? People are just want to just Uber Eats everything. And is that a way to live a little bit different? And so, to answer the question, just from what I read in the article, again, I'll post the the article in the chat. Let me do a couple of these. So this first one here, this is the one dealing with the book, again, Life Without Money. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to drop that link in the chat. You can certainly go there and get that. As far as the woman who's living off the grid, hasn't spent in 5 years. Again, from what I understand, she's not married. I think she has like a communal relationship where basically I think she house sits for someone. But so for house sitting, I get shelter for house sitting. So again, that's clearly another thing that comes into play. What if you have kids? But then again, there's other groups of people who raise their kids in certain ways, gypsies, or in fact, they say that's like a derogatory term now, travelers. Again, Tyson Fury, former heavyweight champion, he kind of lived some of that life as well. Again, a lot of communities sort of live off the grid. We all know here in America, again, in your area, PA, Eastern and Western PA, the Amish, even though they're very industrial people and whatnot, and they sell goods and whatnot, but they live a very simplistic lifestyle. They don't have cars. They have very little electronics. Again, a very simplified type of lifestyle that they employ. But so it's possible, and they raise their kids in that environment. So go ahead.
So when I found the breeder that I bought Apollo from, he was at Amish. If you remember me telling you that.
Yeah.
I went up for State College of PA. And when I got to the property, very, very minimum stuff. He had a decent property, don't get me wrong, with, decent house, but it was like no electricity, no nothing. I was surprised he had a cell phone, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But that's how he makes his money, by breeding dogs and, farming and everything. So he needs to be able to communicate. But it's very minimum, very, very minimum. Like, they still have the outhouse. They shower when they can boil water, it's like in a bath. So yeah, it's very minimum. Like, yeah, could I do that personally?
Well, here's the crazy thing about it. If you talk about the timeline of humanity, we've done this for thousands of years, right? I mean, in the last 100 years, well, I wouldn't even say that, because I know the Romans had plumbing, and, ancient civilizations had plumbing, but it wasn't like in mass. So again, these sewer systems and whatnot, they've been around for a minute. But really, in terms of like modern conveniences, again, having gas stoves, having electricity and whatnot, you're really talking like in over 100 years. Like I said, that the house that, like I said, my grandfather lived in, they had an outhouse. We bathed in white bowl, these big white metal bowls. You took a bath sort of in that, or you jumped in a river or the water or something like that. I mean, the idea of having a shower, and this is like in the 70s, wasn't necessarily available to everybody. So there are places like that. Like, say you go to Jamaica, this place, in fact, in Jamaica, they don't have like the hot water. They have these tanks, these water tanks that are on top of the houses. And because it's hot, so that's the water. So again, the water heats up in these tanks or whatever, and then when you want the water, it's there. But again, a lot of those water tanks are also supplied with rainwater. And so how do you are able to have those things? Yeah, a lot of people are depending on what nature gives them.
two things. In Greece they have something similar. So when you want to take a shower, you turn the switch on. You wait 10 or 15 minutes to get water. You shower, you turn it off. That is what most common houses have. The newer houses now, it depends on the house. Not all of them have this. Have a solar panel on top, so it warms the water from the solar panel to your water boiler. So you always have hot water. But most houses is turn the switch on, wait 10, 15 minutes. And a lot of countries still run that. I know Japan is one of them. China is another one. I'm pretty sure Jamaica is probably one of them too. They turn a switch on to get the water hot.
Yeah.
Because, sun, it justice. If you want to shower at night, the sun's not there. So you have to turn it on.
Yeah.
Or like in Greece, it gets cold in winter. So in the winter, you're not going to have the hot weather all the time. You might have it, but most times you turn the switch on. Time to shower. And you have time. You have to time yourself. Like here, we're so convenient. Oh, I get home from work. I walk my dog. I eat dinner. Then I jump in the shower. Then I do my show. Whatever. I have my schedule. You have to plan that correctly. Like when you come home, you walk the dog. Then you turn the water heater on. Go eat dinner. Then jump in the shower. Then you turn it off. Then you jump on your show. That's more time than you don't realize.
Yeah.
Little thing like that we don't add it up, but it does. It does add up.
Absolutely.
And about that house, where I lived in Greece, my house, we had two showers. We had one inside and an outhouse. And the house was mostly going out using the bathroom in the summer because it was more convenient for the summer.
Did you feel, though, in that environment, did you feel any less, like, in terms of your quality of life as you knew it at the time? Did you feel any kind of less off than when you had more modern conveniences?
I was a kid. I didn't know any difference.
So, right.
Yeah, my grandma was like, summertime, outside. And I'm like, well, how am I going to take a dump? I'm like, outside. I'm like, the one good thing about our house, it doesn't stink up the whole house when you take a big dump. That's the benefit part of it. But except that, I didn't realize anything. Even cable. I didn't have cable in Greece. I had, we had big antennas, not the rabbit heads, like rabbit ears, yeah. No, it was a big one on top of the roof. It was like a size of me, and it had, it's like a couple crosses on it, kind of thing of it, and you have to adjust it every time you can't get a channel. Sometimes you don't adjust it; you got to find a spot. That's it, and stay there. And sometimes you don't catch a channel. Now, before I left Greece, cable was coming in. But nobody was buying it. Like, why would I buy cable? I can get free TV. Stupid. So, like, cable, that's one luxury we had for years here. And we still do. That's one thing. It wasn't a thing over there.
Yeah. Certainly, shout out to MH Hemp 15. Again, thank you for being part of the conversation tonight. Like, again, property taxes. So, again, the idea of trying to live off the grid. But, again, if you have any kind of property that you're living in. Now, I know in the United States, most, pretty much all states have some sort of property taxes, but there are it says no zero state. There are no states with 0% property taxes. Those have significantly lower rates. So, again, the idea is if you can't live off the grid, like I'm in New Jersey, so we got like some of the highest property taxes in the country. In New York, California, New Jersey, we pay the highest ones here. But what if you went to a state where the property taxes are a fraction of what they are here? And a lot of times property taxes are a function of your municipality. Like if you live more towards an urban center, the property taxes are higher. Like even in the South, if you live in Dallas or Houston, you're going to pay a lot higher property taxes than if you're more in a suburban or more rural area of the state. So if you want to, again, reduce what you pay, some of it, are you willing to live in another area? And think about it also, property taxes for the most part are, a lot of them, at least in my area, most of my property taxes go for education. They give me every quarter I get a bill and it breaks it down what my property taxes are and where the money, what percentage goes here. About 60% of our property taxes go to the educational system. Well, guess what? You got people, I think I brought this up one time. You got this, that when my wife and I, when we were having our first kid, we were We were part of this well, we didn't weren't part of it, but we went to this La Leche League meeting. And for a lot of these people, they definitely live off the grid. Like, these people homeschool their kids. So they're not even trying to be part of the educational system. So again, the property taxes, if you live in an area where you're not paying, yeah, you have to pay into the system, but for a lot of people, they pull back. If I'm going to educate my own kids, why do I have to be living in this high property tax area and pay those sort of taxes? So again, a lot of this is about people and whether or not they want to, again, alleviate. If you can't totally get away, if you're not willing to live in a monastery somewhere, but can you reduce the daily stress and strain of trying to always worry about money and paying bills and the stressors that get people into debt, and some people just say, you know what, I just want a simplified life. So again, for those who decide to live in an RV and just live off the grid, homeschool your kids if you still got them. But again, I'm talking about, like, especially if you're an older person, like person my age. I mean, I'm 56. So people my age, who are maybe thinking about or needing retirement, and you're like, as long as that check is coming in, again, why am I going to have this house? Why not invest in something and be on the road, see the country and whatnot, and live off the grid? Yeah, my dinner one night might be the fish that I get out of a local stream. But again, do you know how to fish? Do you know how to hunt? Do you know how to start a fire from, 2 Flintstones or whatever? Can you live a life that is not so dependent upon now again, an Amish person may reject it as a
No,
they may call that I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, but some people may, but again, that's the cheat one. But the real ones, again, if you were a Boy Scout or something like that, I mean, Mandrell, I know he's in the chat tonight. Shout out to him for being here as well. You may be able to learn how to light a fire having very little. If you're in the military, I know they give you a lot of equipment to do certain things. But if you were in a desert or someplace where you had to survive, I'm sure you've been taught certain things, how to live off. Like Rambo, who I know Mandrell loves, he was able to do a whole lot with just a knife. Hunt for himself, make weapons, start fires, do all kinds of things just off of that one tool. As long as he had a knife and he had a compass, and he was able to do a whole lot. And are people in positions to fend for themselves if they had to? And that's also part of this conversation. If you don't want to live on the grid, could you sustain yourself in your life? Could you learn how to grow some things? Learn some basic farming, get some seeds and plant your own gardens, or plant your own, grow your own vegetables and whatnot. Get some fish or whatever. If you want to be real game, maybe hunt some wild boar or whatever, and live that way. There's people who do that. For some people, it's a much more simplified lifestyle. And we take for granted in this country, like there's countries around the world where bugs are still a food staple. Bugs. People eat locusts. People eat, just different. You go to some of these countries and they got stuff in there. It's like, I can't believe you guys are eating this. But is that something that human beings can eat it, or you're just not conditioned to it? But again, could you do something like that and live in a way? So again, we talked about Rambo does that. Even the Equalizer, right? I think the last Equalizer, he was kind of living off the grid. Again, I don't know how he got his money, but he was able to certainly, again, live a life and wasn't worried about making a living, or the living that he had was a very simplified one. So how much of this is just ourselves just being too materialistic?
I think we're also set in our ways, to be honest with you, Paul. Like, we're so used to going down the store and pick up eggs. We're so used to going to getting coffee from Wawa, 7-Eleven. That is a comfort thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're so set in our ways. Like, weekends, I order breakfast for me and my mom. I'm comfort thing, because the last thing I want to do is cook on my day off. But it's a comfort thing again.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it.
And has right, and so the questions I would have then, have those comforts, has that made us better?
It makes us more weaker.
Yeah.
Simple.
I mean, we
Not
want
better.
these conveniences, and is it something, a function of? And again, whether you live in a capitalistic society or communist or socialist society, I mean, everything's tied to money. So again, I don't think anytime soon we're going to get away from that. Although people do worry about things happening in the near future. People are, I heard some early forecasters, we may get another recession or depression, like global, depending on what happens in the Middle East and these things that going on. We've had
Three
them in the
accidents. I just
past.
talk at church. That's the funny
What's
thing.
it? Yeah, so I mean, we've had these things in the
Area.
past. So again, what if it gets, and that's another question too. Can capitalism, at least the way it's currently done, is it sustainable? Can the markets be, 100 years from now, are we even going to have these things in place? Or are they going to crash? And that's why, again, a lot of people are looking at other currencies. We talk about cryptocurrency and, these different currency engines that people are building. Will they be coming out? I know you had a couple countries. I think we talked about that last week. You got a couple countries. I think there's one country in Africa, and there might be some Euro country that has adopted crypto as a medium of exchange. But again, how certain or how sure are you of that being there? So what if the whole economic system of the world collapsed, which isn't an impossibility? If a war breaks out, if World War III breaks out, and markets get destroyed and whatnot, then what are you going to do as a society, or what are you going to do as a person? You have a family. Could you live without money if you had to? Now, Mandrell said certainly in the military he can live off the land forever and survive forever, again, if he had to. But how many of us have had that kind of training in order to live that kind of life if if situations were such where we had to do things? I mean, and we even seen, like, even when we had like hurricanes, I think when Hurricane Sandy came through here through 2015, you already saw what the impact was in terms of people's mindsets and things of that nature. When you have like a couple days without power is one thing. When you go like a week or two without it, things start to change very quickly. How you move starts to change very quickly. What if you didn't have these things? Are you built to survive and endure without those? So these are just things to think about. Are we happier in these developed nations where we have all of these options and safeties and comforts? Or would we be better off if, at least for a time, we could have a more more relaxed way of living? And would you be willing to? At what point would you be willing to give that up?
But
That modern society for something that's I'm sorry. What was that?
are you even willing to give it up? Do you remember the movie Red Dawn? Any chance?
Yes,
Okay, which one do you remember? The remake or the original?
the original from the 80s. They came out in 84, I think. Red Dawn.
Okay, I was
84,
both.
87. Yeah.
I watched the original and the remake. Both are pretty similar. So they were forced into a war. I believe the original was with Korea. Was it? I think was it. Do you remember, Paul? Any chance?
Well, the original film. No, that was Russia. That was definitely.
Okay, the Chinese was the remake then. So not Korea. I was actually wrong. So these kids were forced to live off the land.
Mm.
But the one guy, I believe he was Special Forces Army, I'm not mistaken. The guy who plays Thor, he's the same actor in it. He taught them how to live off the land, how to hunt, to build weapons out of nothing, out of junk.
Yeah.
So they were able to do it. If we were forced to, I don't think everybody will be able to. Only the strong will be able to.
Yeah.
I can safely say myself and you, we will struggle at first. But at some point, we would figure it out and make it work.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why I think I've been a fan of military service. Like I'm now again, I may not be the most popular thing, but I'm a fan of the draft, or at least I think it would be good if an 18-year-old or 17-year-old, if they spent a year or two in the Army learning basic survival skills, whatnot, use of weapons, defense, what have you. I just think that's just part of being a citizen. Now, I think in Greece, I think military service is mandatory, is it not?
Correct. That's why I have the warrant for my arrest out in Greece right now.
Get out of here.
Oh yeah, they're looking at my ass.
How can you get a warrant if you're not? Yeah, but you left when you were what, 13?
I'm still a citizen in Greece. Remember that I'm a citizen in Greece.
But you said they have a warrant. I mean, but if you're out of the country, I mean,
doesn't matter. Once I step foot, it happened to me once. So last time I was in Greece, as I was leaving, my passport was denied for some reason, and they said no exit or something like that on the computer. That was a officer, a cop, pretty much. He goes, I don't know, I never seen this happen before. He goes, but I had to get my supervisor. So the lieutenant comes out, he looks at it, like, I need to speak to you in my office, please. Okay. He goes, he takes the handcuffs off, like, I need you to turn around right now. I go, like, fuck off. I'm not turning around. I know better than that. Then my mom stormed in and goes, am I in? Like, what the hell's going on here? He goes, he's going to jail today. I'm like, well, good luck with that. He goes, I'm pretty much know for one thing for a fact. Unfortunately, cops in Greece are not trained very well. They are low-trained officers.
Mm.
So a average person who has martial arts knows more than those cops. And they looked at me. I go, you can try. And after arguing him, he goes, I'm going to let you go, but you have 3 days to report to your station. I'm like, what station? I have no fucking idea what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So me and mom walked down to the police station and found out. And he goes, yeah, you got a letter, it was returned because Mr. Loris's, me, now I was never there to sign off on it. So it's an active warrant for my arrest right now. I can sneak into the country and sneak out, but if I go in the normal route with a passport, hey Paul, you want to take a trip to Greece to get my ass out of here? I'm like, the only way if I can get rid of that warrant, I spoke to the council or the embassy. It was a one-star general or something like that, and he said to me pretty much, we can get rid of this. It's very easy to get rid of your warrant and come back in the country. But they're asking paperwork out of the asshole. They want literally W-2s from my first boss back in 2001. He doesn't even in business anymore. It's ridiculous stuff that they're asking for. I gotta go to New York getting records for my school and getting old. My mom's needs. I need to get for my mom her old. It was mortgage papers when we had the house in New York. We don't have that. We moved out of there over 20 years ago.
Mm.
Think about what they're asking. This is some ridiculous. I looked at the guy. I go, not looked at him. I said on the phone to him. When I said to him, I'm like, dude, you know this is ridiculous what you're asking. I can't get this stuff. Unfortunately, I agree 100% with you. I had 10 people who asked for this. It's only 1% who is able to do this because most people don't have records to this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the draft thing. You're 100% on right. I have said it on this show, the barbershop show, and even on my channel. We need the draft for multiple reasons. One, to toughen up these little pussies out there. 2, survivor skills. And 3, is every other country does it but us. Why not? Usually you have a lot of volunteers. And if majority still in the chat, Anton too, if you guys disagree, please tell me. I'd be happy to have that discussion. But I think we need the draft more than ever. But not this current military we have, like they're allowed to have their cell phones, or you a little too harsh to go report you. No. I mean, a real military service, like it was. You fucked up, you get smoked. Simple. That's how it is. Same thing at work. You fuck up, you get your ass shoot out. Simple.
Yeah. And again, we're not trying to paint. I know. Shout out to Braxton being on the panel tonight. So again, we're not certainly a doomsday scenario is not necessarily what's driving the show. Although we have to be practical about, again, certainly with the conflicts that are going on. I mean, you have to be mindful. I grew up in the '80s where, again, the schools had radiation signs on the school outside, and we had to do drills and whatnot. So you have to be mindful of these things. But I think the idea here is, can you live without money, is the idea of a simplified, a less stressful life. That so much of our lives and how we go about things is about the acquisition of money. And again, as Run DMC said, again, money is the key to end all your woes, your ups, your downs, your highs, and your lows. Won't you tell me last time that love brought you clothes? It's like that, and that's the way it is. So again, this idea, this acquisition of money preoccupies so much of our space. And what would happen if you chose? So again, nothing's wrong. The system is fine. It's kind of humming along the way it is. But you said, you know what? I'm pulling back. You know what? I want to alleviate. I want to, again, maybe you get an RV or a van or something, and maybe you just live off the grid. Maybe you get some solar panels or something. You generate your own electric power. You live near a lake or a stream where there's plenty of fish and food available. Or you go to a farm and you grow your own vegetables and your livestock. You have some chickens. You have your eggs and your proteins and things of that nature. That, again, a simple life versus that of pursuing is things. Now, Mandrell's saying a life without money is not a less stressful life. I don't know. How do we know that for sure? I mean, when you talk about what people, again, the typical American, and this might not be the case. This might not be the case in all parts of the world. Now, I'm not talking about the absence of hard work. I mean, that goes all the way back to the Bible. You will work by the sweat of your brow. So we're not talking about a life without work or a life without, effort. We're not talking about that. I think that's the life that we are having now. You got robots, you got automation, you got AI doing the work. But then what is that leaving us in at the end of the day? Are we better off because everything is so convenient that we've lost the drive to really take care of ourselves, and we're wanting the great society to take care of us? I mean, we're turning almost into like the Jetsons, where it's like, by a push of a button, George Jetson would go into work, press 3 or 4 buttons, and be like, "Ooh, I had a hard day today."
And he's like, doop, doop, doop.
Is that where we're going? So again, this idea is, I'm not trying to make life less stressful per se, at least, or to say that it shouldn't be hard or that there's no work involved. But we're constantly pursuing money, trying to acquire things. But again, are we better off? That's really the thrust of the conversation. Now, what if you dialed your lifestyle back and not have to have all the latest gadgets and trinkets and whatnot? That you enjoy nature more. What if you lived a life like that? Would we be better? Would some people are choosing to live that kind of life instead? I don't have to worry about property taxes. I don't have to worry about utility, PSE&G. If I need gas from RV, I go and buy it. I buy some fuel or whatever. I got panels. I got, there's people who do this. And like I said, when you travel, and you know this, Mandrell, more than anybody, you go to different countries and people don't have a fraction of what you do or what you have. And at the same time, those people are, you wouldn't know it from talking to them. There's a tranquility about a lot of these people, whereas the people in the resort are the biggest whiners and complainers that I've ever been around. It's almost like you don't want to be around them. They waste. And that's the thing, too. I mean, when you live this more simplified lifestyle, again, what you grow, you eat. When I go on cruise ships, when I go in these resorts, the amount of food waste is It's evil, in my view. I mean, we're going to islands. We're going to Dominican Republic, and we're going to all these islands where, again, the food that we waste could feed thousands of people for an extended period of time. And people going to these buffet counters and just taking food off that they didn't make, that didn't sew for. And they think, oh, it's there. Oh, I don't like that or whatever. And you just wasted a whole bunch of food. And yet I'm going to an island or whatever, and I'm seeing locals there that don't even have shoes on. And they have to struggle for their food every day. So again, there's something about this quote unquote developed society that we've created that in a lot of ways it doesn't seem like, especially when you see how other people live, it doesn't seem like we're winning. It's like and people wonder why we're such a narcissistic society. Why we're such a right now society. Why don't people have patience? Why don't people, work together like we used to? And is this all tied out to, again, this acquisition of money? And what if we just gave up this pursuit, or at least treated money in a minimalistic that, again, you truly understand the difference between your needs and your wants and use money for the things that you need and take away the stress of, I want that. That's really where it is. So, I mean, you can go into, as Braxton said, you can go into the apocalyptic situation. I really don't necessarily want to go there per se. But again, it's a case. It is a possibility that it could, given the current situation. But just as us in these developed nations, and everything's this bad. I mean, they're building condos and apartment complexes around here minimum. I mean, kids graduating college can't even afford these places. $60,000, $70,000 starting salary. It's like you'd be eating Franks and beans just to pay the rent or the mortgage in these places. I mean, we talk about the 2-parent house. First, if it's the 1-parent household or the one income earner household, then it became the 2 earning household. Now you need 2 and 3 jobs because the people who are working now, you got to have a side hustle also. Especially with internet and whatnot, you need more streams of revenue just to survive. And how much of your life do you want to be in that pursuit? That's really what drove this. That's really why I wanted to kind of broach this. And again, I used the article as sort of a starter because, again, some of these guys are off the wall.
You think?
I mean, they're making toilets just like, oh, we'll just dig up a spot and that's the toilet, whatever, and cover it up. And the nature of compost will break it down and what. I mean, it just, they're using newspaper as toilet paper. I mean, I'm not advocating that. But what I am saying, though, is at least can we start to think about some of the choices that we're making? To examine our values, and obviously our values affect what we spend on. And is that a conversation worth having? So yeah, so absolutely. I know we got a lot of chat that came through. Yes, you still have to work for everything. Yeah, I'm not trying to take away work and farming and all those things. Yeah, that's hard work. But again, I've been around farmers, as I'm sure you have. And yeah, it's hard work, but it's good work. Going to the gym is hard work.
Just doing anything is hard work. Look at what I do for a living. My job is technically all physical labor.
Yeah.
So I'm on my feet between 8 or 15 hours a day easily. And I hear people complaining like, you're gonna get a kick out of this. So I can't say names, but there's a parking area. It takes us about 10 or 15 minutes to get to our building, right? And we had her fire her for this is multiple reasons. That was the only reason we fired her. She requested VIP park in front of the building. My boss laughed. I don't even get that. He goes, and I'm the GM. Deal with it. So the people are like they feel like the world owes them something. Nobody owes you anything but you. End of story. Harder you work, more you get back. Simple. And that's what comes down with the money end of the day. Harder you work, more money you make. But people feel like they're entitled for something now these days. Definitely these kids coming up this world today.
Mhm. Yeah, and hey, shout out again, Steve Kelly Belly. Again, thanks for coming through tonight. Yeah, this is this isn't open. There's no right or wrong answer. Like I said, me and Peter, we're just having this conversation. We're inviting you to the conversation and showing your views on it. So some people, again, it's like no, accumulate a great savings so you are more capable of affecting your choices. That certainly that is reasonable. And don't get yourself into a bunch of debt. That's also very reasonable. Braxton, one reason is because people are not going to beat around the bush about something. People aren't for the okie doke now. Mr. Bennett, I'll just say, oh gee, if things continue, this is how the future will be. Either like the films like Mad Max, Fury Road, or V for Vendetta. Yeah, I mean, you can, we have to be mindful that it's almost like what we're building or what we've built. And again, in a relatively short period of time, I can't stop stressing that. 150 years ago, people weren't having this conversation, but people were getting along. People were having more kids. I mean, you hear the conversation now that people are having fewer children or choosing not to have children at all. We've had shows on that very topic. People talk about it takes $280,000 to raise a kid from baby to age 18. But I'm asking where to get these numbers because the ancestors didn't have $250,000 or $280,000 to raise kids, and they had a lot of them. So again, we've deluded ourselves by saying things are so expensive. To have a child is so expensive, and they need this and they need that. But how did your mom, your grandma, your great grandma, how'd they have 10, 12, 14, 15 kids? So again, is this stuff we're just telling ourselves? Or are these real problems?
So these people were complaining kids are expensive. And kids are expensive. And you know this better than I do. And because you had 4 of them. So having 4 kids is not cheap. But having one, I see them going out and buying these most expensive strollers. They're costing you $4,000 a stroller. Why? Why can't you buy something a little cheaper that costs you only 150 to 200 or whatever? I'm not sure how much strollers goes for. But you don't need to buy the Lamborghini stroller or something that has Gucci on it. I see these little babies walking around with Timberlands, and they're like $80. They don't need Timberlands, and they can barely walk. A $20 sneaker is more than fine to me for them because they're gonna last couple weeks, couple months tops, and they'll grow out of it. You don't need to buy the most expensive stuff. Car seat, I can't stand. You want to buy a little more pricier because it's more safety. Okay, I'll give you that. All right, but you don't need to buy a freaking $5,000 car seat when the $500 one does the exact same job because you're paying for the name. Or you go and buy him Under Armour and all this stuff. Like that makes no sense to me. Buying all this, you think the kid's gonna remember he was wearing Under Armour when he was 6 months?
Or the thing that gets me. The baby doesn't remember that they went to Disney. Like go to Disney World or whatever. How many kids that are under age 3 or 4, they're not going to remember meeting Mickey or whatever, or It's a Small World After All, or Magic Kingdom, or any of these things. But you went to Disney World. I mean, so again, some of the things that because you still had to pay for that accommodation or whatever, the ticket to get into the place and all those things, you still have to pay for those things. But you see strollers all over the place. So I'm like,
took me to Disney when I was, how old was I? I think it was 8 or 9.
You went to Disneyland or Disney World?
World.
Orlando. Okay.
But I was older. I remember it. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
don't remember every single of it.
Yeah,
And
I
like,
went in high school. I was a senior. That was our senior high school trip.
oh wow,
Highland Park High School was to Disney World, and then we went to see. We went to Disney. We went to Disney World, and then the last day we went to SeaWorld at the end. And that was, but I was 17 at the time. I didn't go as a as a 5-year-old.
no. So I had the same conversation a couple of years back with CQ when his kid was getting a little older. I think the little man was probably 3 or 4 at the time, and he said, "I'm not going to take him to things like that because he doesn't going to remember them." But at the same time, he goes, "Some of these events are not only for the kids, they're for the parents too, to
Yeah,
remember and growing up." But now he's taken to like I think was it 2 years ago they went on the Disney cruise, and he's 10 now, I believe. So he was
yeah,
8. So that makes sense to me. Okay, 8, yo,
it
cool.
does.
8 years
It
makes
does.
sense.
Yeah,
But now when he's 3 years old,
exactly.
it knows a crap out of me. Even when they take these babies at 8, 3 years old to a movie theater and they're crying through the whole movie theater. I'm like, lady, put mustard, or I will do it for you. I'm like,
Especially in the scene where it's like quiet, like you're trying to get it's a tense scene. You're trying to really see where the plot going and whatnot. It's very intense, and then you hear the baby crying and whatnot, and then it's like you don't want to say anything. That's just going to start a cascade because you say, why'd your baby shut up, and then they're going to bark back, and it's just going to become a thing. And so yeah.
one of my buddies did once. We were watching Fantastic Four actually years ago, and he looked at him and she looked like, lady, we're watching a movie, so you need to figure something out with your kid. And I said a word to him, not even a word, because he was right. But most now in 2026, you say that, oh, well, you cannot tell me what to fucking do. I'm like, oh man, here we go with this drama shit.
Yeah.
But some things kids are not ready for, and they're making the kids experience this stuff because they're not going to remember it.
Yeah. Or just like I said, what parents have your kids doing, like the activities. Like you want your kid in tap and dance and baseball, and I mean these aren't especially now. I mean especially with baseball, everything's travel team now. I mean they go into a tournament. Oh yeah, we want you to play in this tournament in Orlando. How much does it cost? Oh, $7,500. How much is a bat? Oh, bat is $400. To play a sport that you may look good. You may be good at it, but again, you're talking about less than 2% of high schoolers play D1 of any sport. The only sport where you may have some traction is if you're coming out of high school to college is female lacrosse or female hockey. There you got about a 20-25% chance. We did this on BMU's one-on-one sports show. We talked about it. Those are the highest chances of a kid being able to play sports at a collegiate level or above. But those are very neat sports in very select parts of the country that offer them. But for everybody else, basketball, football, or whatever, it's less than 2% that are going to play even at a Division III school. But if you spent tens of thousands of dollars taking your kid all over the country to be in these tournaments and travel teams and the expenses of that sport, but at the end of the day, what do you have? It was just an activity for your kid. And the kid doesn't even have because you let them play all through high school, they didn't have jobs. And so you got a kid who's like going to be 21 years old and has never had a job. But you wanted to give them experiences. And a lot of times as parents were looking to live their lives through their children, the lives that they couldn't have, they say, oh, my kid's going to have this because I didn't have it. But are you really giving them something at the end of the day? I mean, my kids, like I've shared before, when my kids turned 16, they had to get jobs because we were cutting off. It's like, you're not getting an allowance from us. If you want money, you're going to have to get a job. We will give you the basics. We will feed you. We'll give you some money for clothes and some money for shoes. If you want us to pay, we're buying you Skechers. Now, if you go and make money, so we'll give you Skechers money as a floor. If you want to go and make the rest, then you go make that money, and then we'll give you our Skechers, sort of floor, and then you go get what you want. You want the Air Force Ones or whatever it is, you go and buy those then. But my kids knew from a very early age that, work is not an option. Even if I had money, I still would have did that because they weren't going to be athletes and they weren't going to be these great dancers and whatnot. They weren't prodigy dancers or anything like that. So I knew very early on, more than likely, if you're going to get something, you're probably going to get in some education and get it that way. And so we weren't going to pay for stuff or have them involved in things. You got one activity, dance. They all dance, so you get one activity. But even then, we weren't going to go. They weren't dancing at the academy and going like dance moms and going all over the country and stuff. No, we weren't doing that. Y'all aren't good enough. And we weren't afraid to tell them that. Again, know kind of where things are. So, I think we got off on a little bit of a tangent there. But again, realistic about, when it comes to spending money. Can you be a bit more realistic about what are the things that are needs and what are the things that are wants? It just seems like more and more of us, we live on things that you want. Do you have to have, sorry, Pete, do you have to have a $500 gaming system? Like I said, I never dropped the last video game system that I owned was an Atari 5200. Back in 1983. Everything else, I went to Eric's house. We played, when he got his Nintendo NES, we played that. When we were in college, my roommate, he had a Sega Genesis. We played that. And then after that, I went to the computer gaming route. And a lot of those computer games were free. So Wolfenstein 3D was free. I mean, I downloaded it and was playing it. And then when Doom came out, I got that for free. So again, I didn't spend a ton of money on just getting a system that's like, there was a time they were coming out with new gaming consoles like every year or every other year. So I was never concerned with the latest and greatest gaming system. But we live in a society that says, we have to have these things.
See, how I do my purchases, major purchases, anything over 100 to 200, is what is it for? Is it need or is it going to be waste? So with my PlayStation, I broke down. How often am I going to use it? I use it every weekend. Something I enjoy and relaxes me. Okay, I can at least value the numbers on that. Like, the TV, could I get something smaller? Yes. But I use that on a daily basis. I'm not saying it doesn't make an excuse, but could I live without a TV and a PlayStation? Absolutely. No issues there. But again, I'm comfortable with that stuff. Once you get comfortable, it's hard to break habits. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there are so many other things that I don't see why we should spend so much money on clothes, for example. Like, have you walked into a high-end, no, I don't say high-end, like a name brand store like Under Armour and Nike, any of those stores, how expensive the shit is sometimes?
Mm-hmm.
$60-$70 just for a pair of sweats or hoodies.
Yeah.
You can get it for like $20 or $30 on Amazon. This doesn't say Under Armour. Okay, whoopie fucking deal. Or go to clearance at rack. You can get it for $20, $30 from last year.
Yeah, like I said, that's one of the reasons. I said I go to Marshall's. The first area I hit is the clearance rack. And like I said, I have no shame in, like, I think this shirt was like $10. This Puma shirt was like $10 at Marshall's.
This was like $5.
Yeah. So again, I've been to thrift shops. I've been to a leather jacket that I have right now. I got it from from a thrift store. Several items that I have that I've been able to accessorize and put together. I'm not ashamed to go to a thrift store to get certain things. I've gotten gym equipment from thrift stores. So again, I'm not, like I said, I've never been so taken away or smitten with brand names or brand labels or whatnot. It's like, look, can I rock with this? Does it look good? Or whatever, so I'm not breaking the bank. I put the fits together. In fact, I used to, in my early days on Instagram, I would post, fits that I would put together. And I said, what I'm wearing now probably cost me $25. The pants were $10, the shirt was $10, the shoes were, maybe 15 or 25, whatever. But I would say definitely under $50. Look, I got this hookup for this. I didn't have to spend hundreds and let alone thousands of dollars for a look. So again, it's like I said, I've just never been someone who's been so spent. Yeah, I gotta have Nikes or whatever. Do I like the shoes or not? Are they coming nowadays with my feet the way they are now? I need to get I'm wearing the more orthotically helpful shoes. A lot of the Stacey Adams fancy dress shoes I used to buy. I can't wear Stacey Adams anymore. At least I'm not without an orthotic. So give me kind of like the shoe that's almost like a sneaker. It has like a sneaker sole, but it has a shoe top. So I can allow for orthotics to be in there, and I can tie them up, whatever. But even still, I just picked up a pair now for $35. I just picked up a pair of warm today. They didn't flare up my plantar, and so yeah. But again, spending over hundreds of dollars on shoes now. I mean, I'm way past those type of expenses, and so really, like I said, the idea tonight is, again, can you make some changes? Now, again, if you got money, you think you got plenty of money to spend or whatever, then maybe this conversation doesn't apply to you. But for the regular people, are there some changes that you can make to either free up your money so you can save more, or not be so enslaved to having to have all the name brand items and whatnot? Can't you do something? Now, Mandrell, that was a cheap shot, sir. I would almost say that's an ageism thing, but you're gonna get it too. Just because you said that, you may develop plantar in the next few years. Just stay ready. Wearing all those combat boots for all those years is gonna catch up to you at one point, sir. So I'm just saying.
See, shoes, I do understand if you want to spend a little extra bucks, not too much, a few extra dollars to be comfortable. I get it. Like my work shoes, some of these slip resistance can go up to 80 to 100, 150, up to 200 range. 6 months to a year tops you can get out of them if you're on a very traffic kitchen. Then I do understand that, because that's your primary wear for work. I'm not gonna push back on that. I get that. My range are usually 60 to 80 for work shoes. For sneakers, it really depends on the sneaker. I would not spend anything over $100 tops. And I'm really pushing it. Like the last pair I bought was a year ago, I think, was it? Pair of Pumas, $30 off Amazon. I do a lot of my clothes shopping off Amazon because that's where I find the best deals.
Yeah.
They're not a name brand.
Yeah. Now, let me ask the military guys, Anton and Mandrell, do they still have Army Navy stores? I'm curious. Either on bases or on, in certain areas where, again, you go, not to say you go to a name brand store and get a military discount, but I'm talking about the idea of the Army Navy store where you can go and get dress stuff, not necessarily the fancy brand names, but again, practical clothing, khaki shirts, tops, certain good socks and things of that nature for very cheap prices. That was a thing that I remember growing up, but I don't know if they're even around anymore. But I know Army Navy stores used to be certainly a spot where people used to go. So I don't. So Madrell saying yes, they still have them. But I'd be curious if there's any certainly in my area. I wouldn't mind checking one out. But there was one when I was in high school. My brother and I, we would go to, and we would get some stuff, some jackets and things of that nature, especially winter apparel. Like if you wanted like a winter coat, that would be a place to go to get something like that. But I didn't know if they were still going. Do you guys shop at them? When was the last time? So Anton, when was the last time you've been to one? And so yeah, Army surplus stores, yeah. So again, you would get, especially like I said, if you want a winter jacket, that was the place to go if you wanted something that was warm and whatnot. That was a good place to pick up good stuff, especially around September back to school. So obviously, if you knew you were going to need like winter items and whatnot, yeah, you would go there around August, September for the school year, and you would have those. You would certainly have those things going forward. So, but yeah, I mean, we're certainly, I think we're starting to put the wings down and start to land this plane for this show. But again, like I said, the purpose, again, for those who joined us late, I mean, the purpose here was to at least entertain the conversation. Like, what if you had to either, if not live a life without money, which again in the current society seems unworkable, just given again, certainly if you live in the United States. But you do have pockets of people who learn to live without, like I said, the Amish, the certain people who live in mountains and just different places. People kind of live off the grid. People do choose that kind of lifestyle to alleviate themselves with the stresses and concerns of the world. And the only thing that they dedicate themselves is the work of providing their own food. So Mandrill, as I said earlier, I mean, people who really get up every day, they have a task, they have to go out and milk the cows or, get the eggs from the chickens or plow the fields or whatever. But again, they're doing things on their terms. Is that a better life than, for example, having to report, for example, to a boss and dealing with that whole, that whole situation? Or if you're a business owner and trying to anticipate how markets are going to be or whatever. It's like, no, I'm just going to live my life every day. Could that be an attractive option again for some people? And it may not be, like I said, for everybody at the same time. It could be, again, later in life, your kids are basically out the house. You really, and you think that, I don't have the only person that I really need to take care of is myself and maybe my wife. And you guys just decide that, what, we just want to just unencumber ourselves. Could you do it? Would you do it? Or at least try it? Would you consider getting an RV and just trying for a year? And just see the country, and just live that lifestyle for a year? Could you do that long term? I would be very interested. In fact, certainly one of the things I would love to be able to, I know you have content creators that live these kind of RV or van type of lifestyles or whatnot, but I wouldn't mind actually talking to somebody who came from, maybe had like a very busy, maybe you might have been a Wall Street person or something, or an IT person. Someone had a very productive lifestyle, life and lifestyle that way, and decided, what, I'm bowing out and I want to do something else with my life. I want to be able to see the grass grow, or I want to see the sunrise and sunset, rather than worried about reports and deadlines and things of that nature. Just, again, an unencumbered, simplistic lifestyle. That is, kind of what the conversation was about. But again, if we had to go to something where it was going to be more catastrophic, what if there was a natural disaster or something that took out power? Could you live? Could you be productive in that kind of situation if you had to? So these are just, kind of what we want to chop up tonight. But, certainly we can start to land the plane here. Just a few more comments in the in the chat. So Mandrell said, yeah, he was definitely at an Army surplus store a few months ago. Most of them are outside of the bases. Yeah, and Army surplus at the US 1 flea market. I don't remember it there. I know there was a separate one up in Edison near the sub place up in Edison. I remember, but I don't remember the one at the flea market. You can get winter gear on clearance right now. Yeah, I am unashamed about buying clearance items. I'll buy my winter stuff now, and I'll buy my summer stuff at the end of the season. So I have no issues with shopping that way, because I just think that, again, my money is certainly much better spent elsewhere than just trying to keep up with the Joneses and try to spend on that kind of that kind of lifestyle. And yeah, the Mennonites the Mennonites are kind of like, yeah, they're similar. I think they all kind of come from the same family. They may have some different beliefs here or there, whatever, but I think they're kind of all within the even Anabaptists. So Anabaptists, Mennonites, and Amish, I think they're all kind of swimming the same lanes. I think certainly the Anabaptists and the Mennonites, they may be a little bit more technically accepting of certain things, but there are certain things they still don't believe in. They don't believe in having jewelry, for example. Some do TV, because I've seen some Mennonite and Anabaptist channels on YouTube. So obviously they're using technology to certainly talk about their church or talk about their beliefs and talk about their lifestyle. So obviously they're using it, but I don't think I haven't seen too many Amish YouTube channels, but I could be wrong.
Ammonites, from my understanding, when I met one years ago when I was going to college in down in Westchester, because that's where the area they usually live in.
Right.
There are a lot of used cars, there are a lot of used cell phones, but that's pretty much it. Maybe a little plumbing, but not like they cannot have a PC like we are right now. They cannot have a TV or anything very high tech. It's very low tech. When they have like their cell phone is a dummy phone, pretty much.
Yeah.
A flip phone, in other words.
Yeah.
Car is very basic, old school car. Windows cracking, no power, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's very.
And I'm even noticing even in myself, like TV, like I only watch. And I was telling my wife this, I think yesterday. The only TV that I watch is sports. You know what I'm saying? Like if there's a game on, especially like in the NFL season, like I'll watch a game. But I can't remember the last TV series that I watched. I think Cobra Kai season 3 or 4. I think I didn't finish the whole run. I think I binge watched the first 3 seasons. Maybe got into the 4th season. But that's it. And before that, it was Game of Thrones. It was like the only in terms of like weekly series that I would actually anticipate coming on. But I don't watch a lot of TV. Yeah.
The last series I watched was The Last of Us. And it was recently. So I still watch series here and there. I just don't have time, to be honest with you. So, and I so many series I want to catch up on, a lot of Star Wars stuff, a lot of Marvel stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't like. I know there's stuff on the list that's on the watch list. I got to go back and watch it. I just watched the Hulk Hogan Netflix thing, so I wanted to watch that because we said we were going to have a show on your Hangout. That's on Saturdays at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on the Smart HQ Network. That we were going to talk about that the series, but that's it. Like as an assignment, like I had to go back and watch because you did a show on John Wick. I had to binge watch the 3 John Wick movies because I didn't see them, and I had to go back. But again, in terms of just regular like TV, it's almost like I'm paying for. I got Netflix. My daughter's got Disney Plus. We got YouTube TV. We got all these different streams and whatnot. It's like how much of this I'm using. I find myself using less and less of it, but I do have YouTube Premium. And I find myself just on a daily basis watching a lot more YouTube than television. So if I had to strip down and say, you know what, I want to save money, get rid of YouTube TV, Disney, Netflix, just get rid of all that, and that's me. Now my wife, she wants her Hallmark channel and just certain series that she watches and whatnot. So I get that. But I'm saying, as for me, if it was just up to me, I think for the most part, I would have YouTube and maybe a subscription service that maybe offers some sports channels or something like that. But other than that, I mean, a lot of the, especially with NFL, you get how many games a week on regular TV, and then you got the playoffs. I know some games have moved to streaming platforms and whatnot, but that's still a lot of sports. So my thing is, why am I beating myself up trying to get all these streaming channels? And the whole idea was you wanted to save money from cable, right? Because cable was spending so much money on that, and people were just, get rid of their cable boxes and getting all these streaming services. But if you add it all up, you're probably spending more
actually
on all these streaming services than you are the cable TV.
So 2 things. I just watched a documentary on YouTube. Actually, it's funny you said that. It's saying the streaming service played a trick on us. What cable companies have been doing for years. Sign up with us for $8.99 or $85.95 for a whole year for 3 years. Then you build spikes. They say, "Oh, I'm leaving to go to a different company." They drop it back down. But now the difference with the streaming services, you cannot pick up the phone like, "Listen, I'm going to cancel if you drop my bill down." That's only trick now. Second thing is, last night's Hangout, Operation Hangout, me and Anton towards the end of the show, we were talking about Yellowstone, and I've been wanting to watch that for a while. But I went through all of my streaming services like. I have to get Peacock on top of that now. What's my show? I said, fuck that. No, I'm not doing that. Or I pay for the whole series on Amazon Prime for $85. I'm not doing that either.
Yeah. Or you go back to cable. So as cable might be just waiting this out. Okay, all these people left, He left us, but y'all be calling back to us when the hurt gets hurt enough. You guys all come back to us, and then we'll sign you up for a deal. But again, even when with the cable, like I did that, like I said, I'm really looking about switching over to another thing. Can you offer me a discount or something? No, sorry, we can't do that. As soon as I drop them, then they send me stuff in the mail. Hey, sign up now. Hey, we want you back or whatever. We'll give you that. Well, why couldn't you give me that when I was on the phone with you? But no, so you had to go through all of this before you guys finally came around and said, yeah, we need to get back. And I remember when I turned my cable boxes in, the lines were out the door at the local cable place because everybody was dropping cable and going to some sort of streaming platform or service. Everybody.
It's funny you said that because now a lot of cable companies will bundle your service, meaning if you want streaming services, you have to pay X, Y, and Z numbers. You get live TV and streaming services. I'm like, wow, they got smart.
But you don't need. But a $15 antenna gets you HD TV. I got one on my my main set in my den. I have an antenna that picks up like over 100 local HD channels. So like I don't even need, so it's weird when they talk about live TV. Again, we're in the New York tri-state area, so I'm near where a lot of these things are. I guess even some Philly channels where I'm at. So again, if I really wanted to cut certain expenses in half, if I really was like that hard up for money, it's like, yeah, we need to cut this, and this, I could do it, and I think I wouldn't be missing much. Give me my internet, because that's, again, I do a lot of work from home, so again, give me my internet, and I don't mind spending the additional to get the gigabit internet, because again, I don't want to be struggle streaming or whatever, so I'll pay the extra for that. But then everything else, again, you got YouTube. I was just watching Mandrell, the fights that happened in UK this weekend. Shout out to Daniel Dubois, who beat Wardley for the championship. Great fight. I watched the replay, and the replay came out less than 24 hours after the fight was over. So I'm gonna spend, and with DAZN, which is the streaming platform, you got to pay a monthly or yearly subscription for that, and they'll still charge, depending on the event, they'll still charge you a pay-per-view fee on top of that. And what's also starting to happen with a lot of these streaming platforms, they're playing commercials.
Netflix does start that.
The whole idea was that you went to cable or whatever, is that no commercials, and now I'm paying all this subscription money, and you're charging me commercials on top of that. So now I'll wait it out. I'm not spending an extra $80, to get the subscription to DAZN, and I got to pay another $80 to watch the fight, or buy this bundle that they're selling now, like for $400. They give you like 10 or 12 pay-per-views or whatever. But again, is it the pay-per-view that you want to watch? I'm like, no, I'll be patient, and I'll wait for about 12 hours, and I'll go on YouTube, and I'll watch the fight right then and there. With good quality, no squiggly lines or whatever. It's a good quality stream or whatever, and I'll do that. So again, there's so many ways you can save money, and people just running money down the drain, and people are asking, well, why are these attendances going up, or why people's, again, $10,000 for WrestleMania tickets.
Yeah, like last year I got the NFL tickets from YouTube. YouTube TV, whatever it is called. And I'll be honest, I barely used it. I'm just going to watch the replays or the highlights and just call it a day.
Yeah.
It's on it. Or sometimes some streaming services have a game. I'll watch that.
Yeah. Well, I like what a lot of the NFL and NBA, what they're doing now was like they're giving you these sort of game summaries. So like you can go a typical news anchor, you may spend like 30 seconds giving highlights on a game, or ESPN, that's even a better one, like a minute of game highlights. But what they're doing now is they're giving you like 20 minutes, 25 minutes of game highlights. So you're basically getting all the key plays in the game, all the storylines, so you can understand the game in about 20, 25 minutes without spending 2.5 to 3 hours to watch the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like that. I mean, it's like, well, why do I gotta, dedicate a whole afternoon to this? I could just watch the highlights and be done with it. Or if I want to watch, like I said, the fight, I watch the whole fight. It's like 49 minutes, the whole thing from start to finish. I saw the whole fight. So again, these are just other things that, again, people need to start examining their choices. Just because you have money doesn't necessarily mean you need to spend it, or there's other places for it. And if you're patient enough that you have to have the latest and greatest, I got to see it live. No, just wait till Sunday morning, and you'll be able to see it.
Like movies, I wait till I get them on streaming services. I don't go to theaters anymore.
The only exception, now see, that's something that is, I wouldn't call it a weakness, but the only exception I'll make for a movie, especially if it's like a big blockbuster type of movie, like when we went and saw the Michael Jackson story, again, people in the theater. I love a packed theater. When you went and saw the Avengers movies, especially Endgame, you wanted a packed theater because it's like it gives something, an element to it versus just watching it. Yeah, you can have your 85-inch screen and watch it there. Yes, you can have your surround sound. That's an experience in and of itself. But being in a crowded theater and watching something live like that, it's almost like you're watching like a live show. You hear the laughter of everybody and how the crowd is moved by certain things. So, but my thing is this: if I don't see a movie within the first week, then I don't go at all.
The only excuse me, sorry about that. The only movie that I'm planning to go see is He-Man when it comes out, because it's very hyped and I'm very excited because the last one obviously was horrible. And it's something different, you know what I'm saying? And then versus anything else has been coming out.
Yeah.
But everything else I can wait. I can be patient enough because I cut back on my streaming service because I had all of them at one point. I got rid of Peacock. I got rid of Paramount Plus because they were a waste of money, I felt.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really use those two. Those are the two I don't use. The three I use is Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus. And I bundle most of them. And like I didn't get an ESPN because I don't have enough time for sports to say yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's too much. Like now all the WrestleMania PPLs are on ESPN stream.
Yeah.
I can't watch the highlights. I'm good.
And then worst case, like I would, I'm an old Star Trek head. Like to me, the original series is still the best. Like Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, that's still the best for me. Mm-hmm. Buy the series on DVD. And if you want to watch it anytime, you can do that. I own quite. I think I got about half the series. I got about 30 or 40 episodes. But again, it's not because again the whole idea you want Paramount Plus because you want to watch Star Trek or whatever. But it might be cheaper just to buy the box set or whatever and call it a day. You own it forever. Versus trying to go to these channels or whatnot. So even now, especially now, you can get a lot of titles on Blu-ray or whatever cheap. $5-6 and go to some bargain bins and find all these DVDs. And I would
I just looked it up pretty fast. It depends which version you want to get. If you want the complete series, you can get it between $46 or $142. It depends if you want the big box.
But I'm just saying. But how much are you spending a month for Paramount Plus in order to get like even the Strange New Worlds? I think that's the last, or no, Starfield Academy, which didn't last very long. But if you want to Strange New Worlds, for example, if you want that series, wait for it to come out on DVD, buy the set, and be done with it. But spending money month after month on these services, like why do that if you don't have to?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but we can definitely start to again final thoughts. Pete, if you want to start and give yours.
I think through the whole show I've been saying it. You don't need money to be happy. It makes it more comfortable. You don't need material things. It makes your life comfortable. But you don't need this stuff. You can live roughneck the old school ways, save money, and be even happier. Happiness is more important than money.
Yeah. Good points. Yeah, I would sort of concur with that. I think people who are choosing a more simple lifestyle, more simple grounds, more environment. And again, there's health benefits to that. The lack of stress in your life, always worrying about acquiring it, the stress of fear of losing it. And could you be happy in an environment where you're just in the nature, whether it be in the mountains or the plains or on the beach, or somewhere where, you just worry about the day-to-days in terms of making sure you have plenty of food to eat. You're with someone, hopefully, who loves you and you love them. And, is that so bad? But sometimes I think, again, with the life that we have now, it feels like a house of cards. Like a lot of this stuff can go bad or go south at any time. A consumerist society, a capitalistic society that's built on, again, brands and just getting people to keep spending. Is that bubble going to run out? Is the timer on that clock going to run out at some point? And if it does, then what are you prepared to do? And it's good that you have some skills, again, learn how to, at minimum, I would say for anyone, again, I'm talking to myself as well. I think it is good to at least know how to grow your own food or to maintain your own foods, have your own food supply. If something goes bad, if lines get down, we all saw this with the pandemic where, again, you went to the store and everything was off the shelves. And people were hoarding stuff. They were hoarding tissue paper, and people fighting in the stores over the last roll of tissue paper and stuff like that. But could you live off stuff? When we had Hurricane Sandy that came through here, people standing in lines, hundreds of people in line to get gas to fill their gas generators or what have you. Could you endure if you were in some sort of crisis type of situation where you had to go back and living, taking more control over your life and not thinking, I'll just go and buy it. And so those are things I think worth thinking about in this conversation. So, and thank you, Mandrell. Finally, say I always get you at some point in time. So just keep watching. I always tend to land the point. At some point in time. But again, we appreciate you guys being with us. Tonight, good stream tonight. Just watching the flow of traffic. I mean, we hit some pretty high points. So again, we appreciate those who stopped through. Some people who we saw for the first time, and again, we appreciate. Again, it's just Peter and I having a conversation. That's what this show is about. And but we appreciate you for being part of the conversation, for stirring thoughts. Again, someone told me this a while ago. Small minds talk about people, average minds talk about events, and high minds talk about ideas. And we're not saying that the ideas that we talk about on the show are, the most well thought out or whatnot, but I would much rather have this conversation with Peter talking about things that are meaningful than whether or not Klay Thompson and Meg Thee Stallion broke up. That's just me. I'm not a gossip guy. I'd rather talk about ideas and concepts and principles and things that, really talk about the human experience versus what someone in Hollywood is doing. And so that's one of the reasons why we have this show. It's one of the reasons why, again, we appreciate you guys being here. You guys could be watching anything else. Anton was saying there's a hockey game going on tonight, NHL playoffs. So many things you guys could be doing, but you guys choose to spend your Sunday evenings with us. We know you got work. I know I got to start prepping for work tomorrow. And there's so many other things you could be doing. But I can certainly speak for myself, and I'm sure for Peter. We appreciate you guys for hanging out for the whole show. Some of you guys with us on these topics. So just stay tuned. Next week's show, I believe we're going to explore the world of online dating. All right, stay tuned for that one. We're going to have a conversation there, and we just kind of come up with shows. Again, we don't have a theme. It's whatever the topic is that talks about the human experience. We bring these up in these shows. And so, so you never know what what we'll be talking about next. But stay tuned next week. Online dating. If you have experiences in that space, you care to share in the comments or whatever, be part of that conversation. And with that, Peter, I'll give you the last word.
Doing these shows, we really do enjoy doing the streams from the BMU side of the show, and the Spartan HQ Network. We would do enjoy it. Sometimes I gotta drag it into a couple of the shows, but that's the fun part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can meet some great people through this. We have met each other. I have met Black David, Eric. Anton I'll be meeting very soon. He doesn't have a choice really. But I have all these people I met through here. If you told me almost 4 years ago I'm gonna meet a bold, flat-headed guy from YouTube, I would like, you're on crack. But I met him. He's one of my best friends now. And this kid's growing and growing and growing. And it's like, to me, it's like crack. I'm like, come on, Paul, hit me.
Yeah, I enjoy this medium. This is probably my favorite place to be. And I enjoy this space probably the most. You'll find me. I'll be on the One-on-One Sports Show here on the BMU Network on Wednesday. I'll be on Sparta HQ Network on Tuesday. We're going to be talking about, again, cancel culture. So again, if you want to be part of that conversation, talking about cancel culture this Tuesday on the Sparta HQ Network, we're going to go there. And talk about that subject in full. I think generally I love cancel culture, but tune in on that show to find out why.
I want to give you guys a little bit of feedback on who's new to our show, how this came about. We met through the barbershop, wasn't it, Paul? Am I mistaken?
Yep.
So we start talking about martial arts, and we start talking on Facebook. We exchanged numbers. One day I went up to him like, yo, call me again in a second. I have an idea for you might like. I pitched the idea. He goes, I like this idea. But my original idea, and it still is my original idea, is let's do it between both channels to help both of us. We had me with BMU. He liked it. I gotta give him credit. He came up with the name, the thumbnails, and all that stuff. I come up with topics most of the times.
Yeah.
Not always,
and again, appreciate BMU again, always delivering for us, always there when we need you, and again dropping the thumbnails and whatnot. We really appreciate everything that you do for us to make this show work. Really,
and I made a promise. This is probably gonna be the most successful show on both networks. I delivered my promise, so bragging rights to us on that. Always poking on the side, we became close like that, and we keep growing. We have brought some great guests here. From Pop Culture Warrior has been on here. King Smith has been on here. Angry F has been on here.
Mandrell's been on here.
Mandrell, his cousin Doug Bennett has been on here, and some other guys. So we have some, not really cousins.
Yeah, Dwayne White. Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, it's Dwayne White, another one. Good example. And it keeps growing. Yeah. I'm not stopping. I'm just getting warmed up here, baby.
Yeah, again, very productive show and platform, and we're concerned about just creating great content. We can look at the numbers and the metrics, and certainly we've seen some very good numbers certainly in recent shows in recent weeks. And again, certainly we have a lot of people to thank for that. You guys in particular to thank for that. But our goal is simply to just create good content and have good conversation, respectful conversation.
I like Mantro's last comment because I got to rip him a new one now. I've heard you say that for the last 2 years. I'll be back. I'll be back soon. I'll be back soon. I'll be back soon. So when you're officially back and you're done, using the blue chews, let me know.
Dang, why are you going there, man?
Because I got to. He's a
Mandrell. That's on him. That's.
I don't give a shit. Like I tell most people, like if you're military, I'm roasting your ass, and you can roast me back. I'm cool with that because all my friends are military. You ever see how me and Anton talk after the shows? We fucking go after each other like crazy.
I'm not even going there. There.
But anyway,
but in any event. Yes, sir. All right. So again, thank you guys once again for being with us tonight. Make sure you hit the like button certainly as you leave the show, both here and on the Sparta HQ Network. Also, consider becoming subscribers to the network. It really helps us out in both platforms, and continue to grow with us on this show. So certainly for myself, Mr. Bennett, and he is
Sparta!
The Ghost of Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a. Panayotis. This is the gray area. For all you guys, again, enjoy your week. Be safe. Take care. God bless. and we will see you next time. Good night.